Hey, I love therapy, and in fact, I've been going to therapy since I was around 6 years old. Though I talk about therapy a lot and may interview some therapists on the show on occasion, nothing that is said in this podcast should be considered a replacement for therapy. If you are struggling, I urge you to please seek guidance from a therapist because you are absolutely worth it. This is Rachel, and you are listening to Wine, Dine, and 69, a podcast about dating, relationships, sex, and self-love. I hope everybody is doing well. I am back from vacation and kind of adjusting back to normal life, feeling like I either needed a longer vacation, a forever vacation, or kind of that I just needed a vacation from my vacation. I don't know about you, but I always kind of want to have some time to adjust back to reality, the normal life. It's good to have that time to get organized, get your shit together. So today I am so excited to introduce you to my guest. His name is Beck. He is a transgender man, and he kind of talks to me about that, his journey, and we also talk about relationships, sex, self-love, and AIM screen names. I do want to thank Beck for being so open about his experience. I always want to be conscientious of how I ask people questions. I never want to offend people. He was so willing to be transparent and, told me multiple times that no question was too much. So I really appreciate that. And again, this is somebody that I wish I could be friends with in real life. Before we get into that though, I wanted to talk about an article that my partner sent me. He sent it to me and he said, "You should talk about this in your podcast." And I read it and I was like, you are right, I should. It is called The Key to Flirting. It's Not About You. It was published July 11th, 2021 by Andrew Limbong and Andy Taggle. Want to give credit where credit is due. It was published on npr.org. Love NPR. And yeah, I kind of just want to talk about this a little bit. I think it's good timing. We're in the middle of what people are calling hot vax summer. And we're kind of getting back to getting out and meeting new people. I've actually shaken hands with strangers for the first time in months this summer. So it's weird and bizarre. And flirting and dating is already kind of awkward, so it might be especially awkward now that we haven't been doing it for a while. So I think this is good timing for an article like this, but these reminders are also just very important to keep in mind in general. And I was kind of going to break this down point by point to the article, and the first point is kind of encapsulated in the title, which is The Key to Flirting. It's Not About You. And where we're going with this is there's a lot of expectation that goes into flirting. Sometimes there are goals that people have in mind, like getting a number, like going home with somebody. There's fear of rejection. There's a lot of intricate feelings that go into flirting. And it can make it awkward and difficult to know what to say. This has always worked well for me in the past, just keeping in mind that flirting isn't about you. The fact of the matter is, people like talking about themselves. People like answering questions about themselves. There are some exceptions, of course, but as a general rule, most people like to be asked about themselves. And yeah, when I was dating, or even when I was, out in the wild, when I was dating, this worked pretty well for me. Just asking questions to focus the attention on them, focus the attention on making them feel good and heard and seen. And I guess that's a little bit of a rarity. I've always been one to kind of dive into the deeper stuff rather than focusing on the surface level. And yeah, I mean, part of that is focusing in on the other person. And like I said about expectations, part of doing this is avoiding putting your own expectations on the other person. Go into it focusing on a connection. Flirting is about connecting. Who knows where it's going to go? Maybe this is your future spouse. Maybe this is somebody that's going to tell you to go fuck yourself, and you're going to go home and, pass out drunk on your sofa feeling rejected. Who knows? The point of the matter is it's a risk, and it's about putting yourself out there and attempting to connect, which is a beautiful thing. So I would say that the first thing, take away the goals, make it about connecting, make it about them. Make them laugh. The second point here is be open with your own body language. If all else fails, smile. And yeah, I mean, this goes along with, you can tell when somebody's arms are crossed or when they have a particular closed off stance that the vibe is off. So I know that it's easier. It sounds easier than it is, but relaxing and trying to go in with good posture, telling myself that I have awful posture. Good Lord. But yeah, good posture, open stance, and yeah, just coming across as friendly, smiling, and people, regardless of whether they're interested in dating or flirting with you, it's just going to come across a lot better with somebody who's approaching them who is friendly and open and seems kind, rather than somebody who is closed off, maybe a little nervous, and just doesn't seem as genuine. The next point that they cover here is open with a question. And I do have to say, a number of years back, one of my guy friends asked me, Rachel, what's the best pickup line you've ever heard? And I shut that down real quick. And I said, my favorite pickup line is, hi, how are you? I am not a fan of pickup lines. I have a tendency to be kind of cynical, and anybody who approaches me with a pickup line immediately makes me think of the pickup artist or the game, and makes me feel like they aren't genuine and that their intentions might not be good. And I could be completely wrong about that. There are people who just find pickup lines, silly, but they're not for me. So anybody out there, if you're planning on hitting on me, don't open with a pickup line. But yes, opening with a question. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be overthought. It can be simple. This article lists questions like, have you been here before? What do you recommend? What are you drinking? It doesn't need to be complex. Simple questions, and then you go from there. Going in with a plan is just never going to work in situations when you're trying to be genuine and form a genuine connection. So asking questions and then listening to the answer is the best way to go. Again, bringing it back to the point of, it's not about you. Next step here listed in the article is test and assess. And this just means checking in with yourself, checking in, looking at their body language. Are they closed off? Do they seem disinterested? Do they keep looking over for their friends? Are they looking at the television behind you? Do they keep trying to talk to the bartender? How are they reacting to you? Look at this and be honest with yourself. I know that I've been frustrated in the past when people have taken my, one-word answers or my disinterest and tried harder. And I've always said that, me saying no or declining a dance doesn't mean convince me. It means no. So just be self-aware, be aware of the space that you're in, be aware of the other person, and know when to say goodbye. That's not the last point, but one of the last points. Say goodbye either for good or just for now. Again, it doesn't need to be complex. I'm going to go order another drink, or I should get back to my friends, or, I should let you get back to your friends. I am of the opinion that I would rather have a short, genuine, connected interaction. And let it be memorable rather than have a drawn out thing that just kind of feels blah. So I'm of the opinion of, if you feel like you've connected with this person, and you're ready to kind of make an exit, that doing that sooner than rather than later isn't a bad way to go about it. And you can always circle back. If later on in the night you really felt like a connection was there, you can always circle back. I'm using corporate speak. Oh dear. Just it makes them feel special that you remembered them, especially if you use their name. And yeah, just that you thought of them and you saw them and you wanted to talk to them again. That's really flattering. So if you do feel like there was a connection, try doing that. And the last thing that's mentioned here is don't ask for their number. Now, I would say in 2021, in the time of online dating, I think that there are a lot of feelings about levels of seriousness in communication. Like talking on the phone is a huge level of commitment at this point. And phone numbers are even, I think, a bigger deal than they used to be. I think that people try to communicate on dating apps for a little bit longer these days before switching to phone conversations, whether that be text or a phone call. So, the article says, let people decide for themselves if they want to reach out to you. If they were interested, they will. They'll be excited that you offered the number. And if they aren't, then you won't get the call. And you know what? You shot your shot. Great job. So, yeah, I think this is a fantastic list of things to keep in mind post-pandemic when, we're all a little out of practice, shall we say, with things like this, but also just in general, good things to keep in mind when, being out in the world and meeting new people, whether it be romantic or not. Just know when to make your exit. Don't overstay your welcome. Try to keep things positive, light, open. And I always say high involvement, low expectation. So if you can focus on the no expectations, but high involvement, connecting and being genuine and open, I think that's great. And regardless of what ends up at the end of this conversation, again, you've put yourself out there and you've formed some sort of connection with somebody. So, thank you to my partner for sending me this article. It was really fun to kind of break down and give my own little thoughts about it as I work through it. So we're going to get into a commercial first, but then we will get into my conversation with Beck. Again, Beck is absolutely incredible. And, he actually did end up having his top surgery, just a month or two back. So congratulations. That is fantastic. And Beck, I truly, I know I said it in the recording, but I'm so proud of you. I don't even know you, but I'm so proud of you. I wish you the best. And I hope you are fucking thriving. And hey, listeners, we kind of get into a conversation about our first email addresses and our AIM screen names. So if you want to shoot me a DM or an email, and let me know what yours was, if it was totally embarrassing or what. Would love to hear it. I think it's going to be a new question that I start asking people. So without further ado, we're going to get into a commercial and then we're going to get into my conversation with Beck. Thank you everybody so much for listening and be well.
What is it, honey?
It's that darn ghost again. He just won't leave us alone. I guess we're just going to have to move.
No, wait. Don't worry. We're not moving. He is.
Who are you going to call?
Blockbusters. Actually, we know nothing about catching ghosts other than what we saw in that old cartoon. But if you want a podcast where we talk about film, TV, random tangents that leave you wondering what the hell was that all about, and the occasional nugget of wisdom, then we're the ones for you. And as you act now, you can listen to our entire back catalogue for free.
Did you say free?
Yes, I did. So go now to your nearest podcatching device, shake off the ectoplasm, and download us today. Warning, listening to Blowbusters can lead to stomach cramps from laughing, headaches from attempting to remember what tangent they went on this time, and a worn-out section of your device's screen/keyboard as you smash the replay button over and over until the next episode arrives. If your Blowbusters episode lasts longer than 4 hours, tell your doctor so he can listen as well.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am here today with my guest, Beck. Beck, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good.
And I'm so excited to talk to you today. So for the listeners, we met on Reddit. I did a little shout out asking people if anybody would be interested in kind of sharing their story when it comes to self-love and relationships and sex and all of that. And you jumped onto the thread. And so, tell me what we're going to talk about today. Tell me about you. Tell me your story.
Sure. So, like you said, my name is Beck. I am 27 years old, about to be 28. I feel like I'm 40. But I am from, I'm from New Hampshire, and I am a transgender man, or trans man, whatever you want to call it. It's many people have different ways that they describe themselves, but I don't want to say newly come out. I came out about a little over a year ago, and I'm about to hit 10 months on testosterone this month. Yeah, so very exciting. Very, very crazy experience transitioning in general. But yeah, that's kind of the top of the iceberg for me.
Awesome. Well, tell me about that journey of discovery. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things for, me as a cis woman, as a cis straight woman. I sometimes try to put myself in that place, and I'm like, I can't imagine what it would be like to just not feel like myself. So kind of tell me, what did it feel like when you kind of started to realize that you didn't feel at home in your own body?
Sure. So when I was growing up, I didn't have a bad childhood. My mom and my dad, they divorced when I was young. I have a older sibling. My sister is 8 years and 8 months older than me, which is ironic because when I was born, I was 8 pounds 8 ounces. So
wow.
It's a cool correlation. And my sister and I were close for pretty much almost all my life. And unfortunately, about 10 years ago, she became addicted to heroin, and she's still battling that. She's been, in and out of rehab. She's been really, really great some days, and other days really bad. But so when I was growing up, she was my confidant. So when my parents split up, I kind of held on to her and latched on, and she was the first person I told when I was about 15 years old that I was gay. So at that point, I felt comfortable because I knew that I didn't like men, cis men, trans men. I didn't know obviously at the time the difference, but
Sure.
I wasn't attracted to masculine people, and I realized that gay was, I don't want to say the easiest thing, but that was what I knew at that age. We're talking about 2008. So,
yeah.
And she said, okay, was asking me what I wanted for breakfast. And I just told her scrambled eggs. She was like, okay, great. So that was great. And
love hearing that.
Yeah. The flip side to that was she thought that by telling my mom that I had something to talk to her about, it would help me come out of the closet. And unfortunately, it had a negative effect. And my mom didn't exactly agree with my choices. So I had a little bit of a rough high school life, I would say. My aunt, one of my aunts, lived in the same town. So I ended up basically living with her for about 4 years while I was in high school, because she was right down the street. So, without her, I honestly, I have no idea where I would be. So she was really awesome, and she didn't really get it, but she never made me feel like I was a burden or, this is my fault. She was like, you can't change who you are as a person. So that was good. But My mom and I are great now. We actually, I just saw her today for Mother's Day, and
Yeah.
when I came out as trans, which obviously that was about a year ago, I was seeing a therapist, and I thought I was non-binary, and then I kind of realized I was only kind of putting one leg out of the door versus going all the way through. And she was like, I think that you know who you are. She's like, but I think you need to just, find it within yourself to accept that and be okay with that. And after that conversation, I kind of just said out loud, like, yeah, I'm not a female. I've always felt like male. And I remember leaving my Zoom meeting, and I went into the living room and sat down with my girlfriend, and I said, I want to tell you something. And she said, okay. And I said, I think I'm a boy. And there was kind of like a 2-second like silence. And then she just said, okay. And then just, it was like I just took my first real breath of fresh air, and I was able to start being who I want to be. And but I realized that I had been feeling this way my whole life, since probably about 8 years old, because you have all these file cabinets in your brain, and you open one and then another one gets opened. And I have this vivid memory being a kid and putting toothpaste all over my face, and then taking a toothbrush and wiping it off like I'm shaving, because I would see my mom's boyfriend's doing it, and my dad, when I had a relationship with him, but we don't talk anymore because he's one of those people that he's always a victim. So he never took responsibility for his alcoholism, and didn't treat me great as a child, and just stuff like that. But I think that at the end of the day, you always know, but you don't have like a word for it. A lot of the times I think we want like a certain phrase to describe how we're feeling, and until somebody makes one up or tells you, then you're like, oh my God, that's what it is. And when I saw my high school friends and colleagues transitioning, whether it was male to female, female to male, I said, holy crap, like I knew those people, and they're doing it, so why can't I come out and be who I want to be? So I have a slowly growing a beard, and I have hair, and my voice has changed. So up until I came out, I thought that was who I was. I identified as a lesbian and as female, and I had the short butch haircut and the tomboy style, and I thought that was as close to it as I would ever get. And it turned out that I was only halfway out of the closet, and I finally stepped all the way out. So,
Well, what does it feel like now?
oh, it sucks because you still have to pay bills, but I mean, truly, it's euphoric, and that's the only word I can use for it, because my mom has tried, because my mom, like I said, we have a great relationship, and when I came out as trans, which is so funny, but she was just like, okay, so am I going to call you my son now? And I was like, yeah, and she goes, okay, like no problem. And I signed my mother's card as from your son, and she's just like, great, like whatever. And but it's just nice hearing, hey man, hey brother, like what's going on? Or it's just like, you don't think about that stuff, and because every day you're just like, yeah, like I'm me, and that's what people call me. But if you told somebody your name and they kept getting your name wrong, and it like really like irked you that they kept calling you a different name, that's only like barely at the surface of how it feels to be, misgendered or dead named. And so it's hard to explain it, because, when, somebody gets a tattoo and they try to explain how it feels, but until you sit down in that chair and you get the needle in your skin, that's when you know how it feels. So it's hard.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good, what I thought of when you said, you're looking for the definition, you're looking for the words, and then it's not until somebody says it or puts it out there. It reminds me of like, in like the deepest moments of my life where I just am looking for that song. Like, what's that song that's going to encapsulate those exact feelings?
Yeah.
And once you find it, you just play it over and over again, because like no one's ever understood you as well as that song.
Right.
So, I mean, absolutely relate to that. And I think that is so cool that you've had, I mean, it sounds like there's been some tough experiences in there
Right.
too, but coming out as trans to your mom, to your girlfriend, I mean, that's incredible.
Right. Yeah, because I actually not tried, but I talked to, at the time, well, now my ex-wife, but at the time, my girlfriend, and I tried to explain to her I was feeling, like I was a man, and she at that time identified as a lesbian as well. I don't at this time know how she identifies, but
Okay.
regardless, and I tried to explain that, and she said, I wouldn't be able to stay with you if that was the case, because I want to be with someone who identifies as a woman, and I understand that. Like, I respected that, but I also didn't. I don't want to say I didn't love myself enough, but I didn't have enough confidence in myself to be true to who I was. And I was also in my, earlier 20s. I'm almost 30 now, so people think that 5 years isn't going to make a big difference, but
Ooh, in your 20s it does.
yeah, your 20s, 30s, even in your I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, but so finally really coming out and being out, and almost not broadcasting it, but just making people aware that I'm happy with who I am. Like, yeah, there are days where it's hard, and I wish I was born cis, but I wouldn't have met the people that I've met. I wouldn't love the people that I love. I wouldn't appreciate that aspect of my life as much, and honestly, I'm thankful for that. A lot of people aren't thankful for being trans, but that's just who I am. It's just like somebody that likes to eat black instead of pinto beans. You know what I mean? Like, it's just who I am. That doesn't make me a good or a bad person. It's just who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that is so important. I mean, I think about politics, and we talked about like the message that you wanted to kind of get across in this interview, and what you said was, I just want people to have an open mind. And I think what you just like said is so important, this idea that like, this is just who I am.
Right.
It shouldn't be that hard to wrap your mind around, but it is for some reason.
It's funny, because the other way that I kind of relate to it is, when two people are, more than friends, but they don't want to put that label on it, because once you put that label on it, it changes things. But it shouldn't, because those two people are still going to be the same people. And by me defining who I am, and that should just be like me telling you what my favorite ice cream flavor is, which is mint chocolate chip, because it's superior. So
that's one of my favorites too.
But and so it's frustrating, because I've never been able to understand, even when I wasn't out as trans, I just didn't get the problem. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, if you tell me you like chess and I don't care for it, I'm not going to make you upset because you like it and I don't. So I don't know. I just think people like to have their own opinions about things, whether it's right or wrong.
Who the fuck cares? Live your life, right?
It's truly one of the dumbest things that people are upset about, because it has zero to do with them. Zero. Like I don't know about the other people that are on the other side of the city that I'm in. What do I care about somebody that's on a different, continent or state?
Right.
Like, what you want to define where I can work and who I can be with because I am having the same type of surgery that somebody that's getting a nose job is getting, and it's just on different situations. Like, so people want to pick and choose what's okay and what's not to fit their agenda.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads to like another question, and I mean, you might have already answered it in what we've just discussed, but what message do you have for people who just don't, I have here in quotations in my question list, who don't get trans rights issues?
They haven't read enough.
Yeah, education. I mean, that's what I think too, but
yeah, I mean, I think that they're not looking in the right places. Like, you're not going to find information on, Fox's news station about trans people unless it's a negative thing, or it's, but you're not going to find it in a public school, like you have to be willing to go out of your comfort zone. Like, I'm not saying that you have to go to a drag show. I'm not saying you have to go to a sex club. I'm just saying that go on Facebook, go join LGBTQ ally pages, go join trans rights pages and ask questions. Yeah, sometimes you're probably going to be offensive. Sometimes you're going to rub somebody the wrong way, but who hasn't rubbed somebody the wrong way doing something very minimal? At least you're saying, I want to be educated, but that doesn't also mean that those people are obligated to give you that information. So you have to be willing to take the rejection of people not telling you, what questions you have by just doing the research yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's research, but it's also just like allowing yourself to be open to ideas that don't fit in your neat little box, right? Well, I guess if you don't mind talking about it again, like, let me know if what's on the table, what's off the table. But what's the process of transitioning like?
It's basically the second round of puberty is the best way I can describe it. I have not been able to wear sweatpants for more than like 15 minutes since like last year when I started, because I sweat like I'm in a sauna. Like, it's just, I'm always, and people are like, oh, that's great. No, it's not. Not when you have to change your shirt 2 times a day, and it's uncomfortable. But so when I came out and I go through Planned Parenthood. I support Planned Parenthood. I donate when I can. They are right down the street, and every time I've gone in, it has literally been like 5-star service. Like, they're just the best down to earth people, and they actually care about their jobs. Like, I can't, and there are times when there's picketers down there, and I'm just blasting like Lady Gaga, whatever, and just being like, hey, I'm about to go inside and get tested. Like, awesome, like whatever, spread love. You know what I mean? But when I went, I had obviously with COVID going on, they were doing a video consultation. So I talked to the doctor and the intake person, and they were just so kind and so calm and didn't ask me any invasive questions about like, well, are you sure? It was more just like, these are the risks and these are the rewards, and you can decide if that's what's best for you, and that's what it should be. So there's obviously different ways you can take testosterone. So one way is you can do what they call pellets, and I'm not super familiar with it, but from what I can gather, I don't think it's a surgery, but it's almost like getting an IUD in. But instead of the IUD, it's the pellets, but it's in a different section of your body. So again, don't quote me. I know I'm being super technical when I'm describing this. But essentially the pellets are I think it's a 3 or 4 month extended release of testosterone, essentially. So they wouldn't have to take any more testosterone until that time is up. So you would go in for, let's just call it a procedure. They would insert the pellets in whatever section, and then that would be your testosterone in your system for 3 months. And then the next 3 months you go and you do it again. So that's one way people do it. The second way that I know is that you can take it with injections. So you can do it subcutaneous, and that is what I do. So what that means is it's through the fat in your in your leg or your butt or your arm, your stomach. So that's not going to your muscle. So that's once a week. So I take 0.5 usually in my leg once a week. So every Wednesday is what I call my T-shot day. The other way you can inject it is called intramuscular, and basically, just like it sounds, it's actually a little bit of a longer, thicker needle, and it's a little more painful, but that one goes directly to the muscle, and that you typically take once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So those are the most invasive ways. The last way you can typically get it is in a gel. Gel is a little bit more complicated because you have to let it absorb on that part of your skin for a certain amount of time. And if you happen to touch somebody, even your dog, with it, it can actually affect them. So,
Okay.
there are people that have partners and they will put the gel on and accidentally the partner will touch it. And then, the partner could be a cis woman, but start actually growing facial hair because of the testosterone coming into their
Wow.
system. So I didn't want to go through that route and I didn't want to go through the pellet route. And truthfully, I have tattoos. I don't like needles. So the subcutaneous, it's once a week, but it's literally like barely even a pinch. So
Sure.
it's super easy. But they're talking to me on the phone about it, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to give myself a shot every week for the rest of my life. Like when you hear it, it's so scary. But after doing it every week for 10 months, it's just like taking a vitamin. It's like, all right, I got to do it. You got to prep it, you sterilize, you change the needle out from bottle to skin, whatever, and then you inject it and you're done. So that was really scary to learn by myself. And that's probably the hardest thing that I have found is just learning the more medical things about it.
Sure.
But after that I actually stopped having my period, so I haven't had my period since then. So since
Woohoo.
yeah, oh my god. Well, the only flip side to that is I still sometimes get the phantom cramps, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of stinks, but I'll take it over having to change pads or tampons every single day
Yes.
and few hours and whatever. But so that's been great, and obviously my voice has gotten a lot deeper. I've grown, like I said, facial hair, leg hair, some chest hair. I don't know how in depth you want me to get, but I have other growth as well in the genital area. Obviously, it's not like an enhancement pill or anything, but it's essentially growing the clit, because that's what everybody starts out with growing.
Sure.
So that's been interesting as well, walking around and then you bump into something and it's like, oh, okay,
You're like,
that
oh,
didn't
yeah.
that didn't used to hurt and now it does. And my dog will jump up on me and I'm just like, oh my god, like so it like knocks the wind out of you, and it's just kind of, I don't even know what kind of word to put it. It's just weird because, like I said, it's like second puberty, but I knew what puberty was like when I identified as female, and now identifying as male going through it, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see like why this kind of was a pain in the ass.
Sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I can describe it as is second round of puberty.
I think that sounds, I mean, from what you described, that sounds spot on
Mhm.
to the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, it sounds so, I mean, in so many ways, it's beautiful, right?
Mhm.
But it also sounds like it can be kind of exhausting. I mean, probably both mentally and physically. Like, what do you do to take care of yourself?
Yeah, a lot of people ask, oh, don't you wish you could have, gone into surgery and overnight and come out? I'm like, oh my God, no. That would be for me more traumatizing, because even a couple days ago, I was in the car and I kind of was looking in my rearview mirror, and I saw myself, and you almost don't recognize yourself, because I remember I would wax my face all the time because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any hair. And now I'm like, I don't want to cut this hair because I've been trying to grow this out for so long. And I know that it doesn't really look that great right now, but I don't want to cut it because it's been taking me so long. So, I have this scruff on me right now, but when I look at myself, I'm like, that's who I was supposed to be. But to go in and come out a completely different person, that to me would be more difficult, because I've been able to learn a lot about myself, about like my taking testosterone, your mood changes. I have really great days, and then when it gets closer to when my testosterone shot is, probably a day or two before, I'm tired. I want to sleep. I don't really want to eat anything. I just kind of want to be by myself and not talk. And it's kind of helped me realize that even though I take medication I have depression and ADHD, and that levels me out, but the testosterone is a whole different ball game, because that's it's hormones. So it's not
Right.
just changing your physical appearance, it's changing your mental, because there'll find days that I'm just really like angry, like I've never like hit anybody or anything, but it's just like I just am so angry, like I just want to start an argument for no reason, or like I just want to like go for a walk and not stop walking until like my legs give out.
Mhm.
So it's it's exhausting in that sense, but it's, yeah, like you said, it's pretty beautiful to see who you could have been all this time. And I think that's the only thing is, you kick yourself and you wish that you came out sooner. But if I came out sooner, again, my life might not be the same as it is now. So
And you have so much time.
yeah. So I think that's the thing, is that you want it now, and you see all these people that have gone through all the things that you're just now starting to go through, but you have to kind of pull back and remember they were in your shoes right where you are, wanting it to be that day too, and now they're there, but they're still growing too. So it doesn't
Right.
just stop when the surgery is over. You still have to be trans for the rest of your life, but it's all mentality of how you want to deal with all that comes with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't even know you, but I'm so proud of you and so happy for you.
Thank you.
I think I love watching people live their truth.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fucking cool. So, I guess I kind of want to ask you, you are more than just a trans man, obviously.
hmm
This podcast is about, sex, relationships, dating. Like, tell me about your love life.
It's great, honestly. Everyone wants to say like, oh, I have the best sex life and I have the best love life and this and that. I'm like, my partner and I have really great communication when it comes to, you know, sex, love, whatever. And it's not just about, do you want top or bottom tonight? It's like, okay, do you like when I do this? And it's not like you're taking notes as you're having sex, but you're just kind of making yourself and your partner aware. I want to make sure you're okay. Are you okay? And especially with my transition, things have changed. So I don't like certain things because it makes me uncomfortable. And,
Sure.
she has made it very clear, whatever you don't want me to touch, whatever you don't want me to do, that's off the table. Like, so obviously chemistry is super important too. And we have great chemistry, but if I didn't have that communication with her, it would be really difficult, especially now, because there's so many things that have changed. But she gives me the opportunity to not critique her, but to be like, okay, am I doing everything that you want me to do? Does this feel good? Like, do you enjoy this? And 9 times out of 10, it's like, yes. But it's, so I would have to say it's really great. I have no complaints. So, and not just because she's in the other room, but because it's true.
And how long have you been together? You said you were together before the transition and you're together now. So how long has it been?
Yeah, so we actually just hit 2 years together last month. Yeah, so so it's been, so basically I was identifying as female our whole friendship. We've been friends since I think high school.
Love that.
So yeah, we went to different schools, but it was like, Facebook was booming and add this person from this nearby school and you're mutual friends with these people. So it was just kind of luck of the draw. I think we actually met on Tumblr, but somehow moved to Facebook. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I wish we had written it down, but now we just tell people we met online because that's the simplest way. But yeah, so she had known me as female for a long time, and then when we started dating, that's how it was. And when I came out, it was just kind of like, okay, like we're kind of gonna start from scratch and kind of see what we enjoy doing together. So she is a total trooper, and not that she's, well, I think she takes one for the team because she's dating me, but in regards to being in a relationship, she's really just stepped up as a really great partner, because not to set the bar low, but not a lot of people stay when you come out as trans. That's a huge piece of you to ask somebody to accept that has seen you as someone else for so long.
Sure.
So for her to just kind of sit there and be kind of the first person to be like, I actually love you unconditionally and actually mean it, it's kind of like the clouds parted. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very lucky, truly. She's a pain in the ass, and I want to give her a knuckle sandwich some days, and she wants to probably let me tuck and roll out of the, going down the highway 95 miles per hour. But truly, I could not have gotten luckier. She's really awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It sounds like, yeah, you both lucked out.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I want to ask, like, what kind of tidbits of advice do you have for listeners when it comes to like good communication and in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, and just in general, like, advice on that front?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not an expert, but from my experience, there's no right or wrong. Well, there is a wrong time. You don't spring something on in the bedroom, say, I want to try this, and just kind of stick it in there and hope that they like it. But, you kind of have to have a discussion beforehand and be like, listen, I want to try anal. Is that something that you've ever thought of doing? Yes, no. Okay, great. Go from there. Okay, would you be okay with my hand? Do you want my dick? Do you want a dildo? Do you want whatever? You just have to ask the question. Just open the door. You don't have to go through it full force, but the worst thing that can happen is they say no. And honestly,
Right.
That's not even the worst. The worst that can happen is they break up with you because they find out you have a kink and they don't like somebody with a kink. So, but if you're at that point in a relationship where you feel comfortable enough to talk to somebody about it, they're probably going to at least hear you out. They might not agree with what you want to do, but that doesn't mean that you can't explore other things.
Absolutely.
So, and sometimes people wait until they've had kids and they finally are like, I don't really want vanilla sex anymore. I want this. And, it's never too late, I guess, to explore that. But
Absolutely.
I definitely just think you have to just do it, just find, if there's something you want to do, research it, see as much what you can get, because it's not just for you, it's for your partner. It's
Exactly.
not, you're educating yourself so you can educate your partner, and you can give your partner the resources to educate themselves as well. So it's not just for you to say, well, I've read this and this is what it says and this is good. You can say, listen, this is what I've read. You can go look it up and see if there's any risks or if it's something, that interests you, but it's not an ultimatum, and I think that's a big thing, is because when we don't meet somebody's, I don't want to say sexual level, but some people have a certain criteria of what they want in a sexual partner, and when they don't get it, that's kind of it. And I think sometimes when you're with the right person, that's not the only type of chemistry you need to have a good relationship. So as long as you can talk about it, just, you can make chicken parm for dinner one night and say, hey, do you want to do this in bed later tonight if we don't eat too much? And they could say yes or no. And then, and just go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I think communication's key. And I just one of the biggest things that I feel like I've learned from doing this podcast is just like, we need to stop taking sex so seriously. Like, bodies are kind of funny and weird, and we're just kind of mushing them together.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little weird. So it should just be fun.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first times I had sex with my now partner, we were laughing, and it wasn't because we were making fun of each other, but it was just like, you're learning each other, and it's new, and you've never seen this person naked before, and you're like, oh, that's what her boobs looked like. They're nice. I didn't know what I was expecting, but that's great. But it's just like, you just go through that journey together, and it is fun because there are things that I've done with her that I didn't even think that somebody would want to do, and I enjoy it. And it just took her to be like, hey, do you wanna try doing this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I think I do want to kind of try to do that. And then that's, and it becomes a part of our rotation. So, yeah, I think that, yeah, like you said, bodies are weird. Bodies are so freaking weird, but some of them are really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, okay. So here's a question that I think that a lot of people get confused on,
Hmm.
and I'm hoping you'll be able to just overall clear up,
Hmm.
put it down, put it on the board. What's the difference between sexual orientation and gender identity? I know that there's a lot of talk about sex versus gender and all that good stuff. And like, let's just kind of put a pin in that right now and put those definitions out there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those are so loose now because people can be a lot of different things, and that's, I mean, every pot has their lid, to each their own. So the way that I don't know if I heard this somewhere, I read it, or if one day I was just in the cocoon of my brain and it just kind of came out one night. But I think of gender identity is who you are, and sexual orientation is who you love. So your gender identity is more about yourself, and it's about what do you want people to see you as, and some people say, I don't want them to see me as anything, I just want them to see me as me, and that could be somebody that's non-binary, somebody like me. I'm a trans man, so I want somebody to see me identifying as a male.
Right.
So but my sexual orientation is, for me personally, it's tricky because on the outside somebody sees a man and a woman, me and my girlfriend, and I'm straight, but I'm also trans, so I just consider myself queer because I don't really know. Because I know that I want to be with a woman, but
Mhm.
I don't really know what to call myself, because technically in that sense I am straight, but I'm in the LGBTQ community, so I guess I can be considered queer. So that's the way that I have kind of figured it out. Is gender identity is how you identify yourself, and sexual orientation is how you identify who you love or what you love.
Yeah, that all makes complete sense to me. Well, what are some really big misconceptions that you feel like would be worth clearing up?
It's
And this can be about like, being trans, it's going to be about the LGBT community in general. Like, it could be
yeah.
about whatever you want. It could be about the last episode of whatever TV show is out right now that's hot.
um I think that the biggest thing in the trans community that's a misconception is that it's a character you're playing. I'm not playing a man. I am a man. I identify as a man. Trans woman doesn't playing a woman. She is a woman. You go to drag shows and you have these amazing people that perform, and like RuPaul's Drag Race, like you just see it everywhere, and like Gottmik is as a trans man who is a drag queen, so he is a trans man but performs as a drag queen. So you know people think that almost like gay men have a persona for the drag community. That's not the same in the trans community. I don't put on men's clothes or my clothes, whatever, because why does clothing have a gender? But
Right.
when I wear what I wear and whatever, I'm not putting that on because it's a costume. That's me. This is, if I was out at the grocery store, that's the same as you would see me at the movies or at a bar or whatever. So I think that a lot of people assume that the community is just like playing a part, and well, you're not really a man, you're pretending to be a man, but really you're this. Like, no, I am chemically changing my body so that my hormones match what I feel I was born as, and I was born as male. So that's me. That's I'm Beck and I'm a guy. So that so it not that people meet each other like that, but almost in the trans community you have to kind of set that tone where I am a boy. Like, you are not looking at me as a different person when I leave. Like, this is who you're always going to see.
Right. Yeah, very well said. I didn't even think about that as something that would be thought by people, but I guess that makes some sense that some people would view it that way if you're, they're uninformed or intentionally, uneducated.
Right.
Very interesting. Well, are there any other things in regards to sex, relationships, dating, your self-love journey that, you want to share that you feel like people would benefit from knowing?
I think that the biggest thing is just to understand that no matter what you do, who you are, who you love, how you identify, like, it's valid. Like, it shouldn't be so taboo to have kinks or to want to be with a trans woman or, obviously not as like a fetish or anything, but just in general, like, it's okay to love yourself for what you want and who you want. It shouldn't be a bad thing to be explorative. As long as you are happy, healthy, and you're not hurting anybody else, that is what's most important at the end of the day. So if you're able to live your life that way, however you enjoy, having sex and having sex with whoever you want and in relationships with those people, it's fine. Like, the only person that's going to feel horrible about it is you, and then other people will make you feel horrible, but those are the irrelevant people. If people make you feel bad for being who you are, then they should only be a chapter in your book. They should not be at the end, because it's truly, to quote The Princess Bride, it's inconceivable, honestly.
I love that movie.
Yeah, so, because I spent my whole life hating myself, truly, like, waking up, hating having to put a bra on. I'm having top surgery next month, so I'm very excited about that. But you wake up one day and you just realize that you're your own worst critic, and you could be the ripest peach and someone's going to hate peaches. So just be yourself, and at the end of the day, you will find happiness. And I know that sounds like it should be in one of those like chocolate Dove bars, but honestly, just be yourself, because you are the best you that the world could ask for.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's especially important to remember now. I mean, and lest we forget, you have gone through all of this in the time of COVID, which is just like fucking nuts to me.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's still going.
Yeah, like, and I mean, you said like a lot of those appointments are virtual, and so you're probably having to take like a ton of precautions when it comes to going in.
Yep, mask wearing. I mean, I'm in New Hampshire, so I believe that the mandate has been lifted, but I don't care if there's a sign or not. I still wear it, not just because I haven't been vaccinated yet, and that's not because I don't want to be. I truly just haven't made an appointment because I didn't want to get caught in the whole crowd of everybody going at the same time. But even when I get vaccinated, it's not just for my safety, it's for everybody around me, because just because you can't get COVID, you can still give COVID. So I don't care whether you're vaccinated or not, you need to wear a mask. So I that's my best practice, is anywhere I go, I do that. So when I go to my appointments, I'm masked, and that's just how it is right now.
Yeah, and probably how it'll be for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah,
unfortunately. But you know what? Yeah, we protect. Well said. Like, it's not just for you; it's for our elderly, our grandparents, our parents, those people that we love, and even those people that we don't even know who are immunocompromised. So very, very important. Well, I guess I have a couple more questions for you. One is, what can people do to support trans rights or to learn more? Like, what, I guess is two questions in one, but what can people do to support, and what can people do to educate themselves and learn more? Like, do you have any resources? I'm definitely going to link Planned Parenthood in the episode notes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Planned Parenthood. They're not just for abortions. When I went, no, And you know what's sad is I was one of those people, you know, before I knew what Planned Parenthood was, what I was like, well, that's all they do. And it's like, I was so ignorant and so stupid, and I woke up finally and realized that they save people's lives. They check for, you know, STDs. They check for, obviously, any type of other. I don't even know what other disease they check for, but they, you know, they're a great.
Yeah.
They're just a great resource for if you're in a physically or mentally abusive household. They will help you. They will get you resources where there's shelters and grants, and so they honestly, like, they're a really great resource. As far as within the trans community, I don't have anything specific. All I could say is just use Google. I hate saying use Google, but look up, what does transgender mean? Just educate yourself. You know, like I said earlier, if you're on Facebook or like we met on Reddit, go to trans community groups, read what people are talking about, find out what the news is right now going on with trans rights. You know, if you turn on the TV, I'm sure there's going to be at least one story about something going on with the trans community, because that's how it's been going on for a little while. So, you know, as far as support, just look at each person like you would look at, you know, your family or your friends. Like, just, that's how I can explain, is you don't need to go looking for trans people, because they are everywhere. They could be your neighbor, they could be your teacher, they could be the person you serve at your local coffee shop. Like, they're everywhere. So just treat each people like they're no different from the person before, and just go online. There's so many different places online you can look up to find out what's going on, and I'm sure that there's other people that could probably link way better sources than me, but I just, unfortunately, I don't really know too much as far as if there's any like specific like campaign or anything like that.
Yeah, you're fucking busy. So. We're in a pandemic.
No,
you're going
yeah.
through all these big life changes. You have a relationship to keep up, you know. Tons of stuff going on. But, well, Beck, I really want to thank you. I think that these conversations can be tough to have sometimes. And the last thing that I want is to hurt somebody or trigger anybody or make them feel any negative way about themselves. So, you know, but I do know that people have these types of questions. And so I really just want to thank you for being so vulnerable and being willing, you know, to answer what, you know, may or may not be tough questions for you.
Right.
So I just want you to know that I really appreciate
that. No, of course. The way that I see it is, if I could have, not me, because I'm, you know, no superhero or anything, but if I had somebody like me when I was younger to just even listen to and know that there's people out there that feel like that, I think that's a huge step. So it's not even just to educate people, but it's to help even the younger and older generation kind of realize that if you're feeling this way, it's okay. You're not the only person, and it might be hard, but it's going to be okay, because like I said, there's so many resources out there that you can reach out to, and people are more than willing to help.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say? If you, I don't know if you want to promote yourself in any way. If you do have a social media that you want to share, okay. If you don't, if you have like an inspiring quote you want to share, any last little tidbit?
No inspirational quote. I would just say, I mean, I have pretty much all social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and all my handles are the same. It's just bseuss34. It's it's the username I've literally had since high school, when everybody was calling each other by their the first initial of their first name and then part of their last name. So that was where that came from. And the 34 is when Paul Pierce was on the Celtics, and he was my favorite player. So there's my backstory on the username, in case anybody didn't care about it. But so yeah, that's all I got.
No, I love the username stories. I think my username in high school, really inappropriate for like a 14-year-old. It was like Shy Girl 10801.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that got me into some trouble.
That sounds like it was misrepresentation.
Yeah, no, it was not
No.
it was not a good idea.
I guess I'm glad I didn't make it like slutty horseman, 69 or something, and then sending that like on job resumes, then being like, okay. So at least they're like, oh, where'd that come from? And I can be like, oh, it's just a high school thing. And they're like, okay.
Oh yeah, I love those backstories. That's gonna have to be a new question that I ask guests.
There you go.
That was their AIM username.
Oh God, I don't even remember that, but I'm sure it was wild.
Oh, I think my other one was Slayer Chick because my favorite TV show was and still is to this day Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh
so.
yeah, okay. You know what? Truly, I'd rather that on my resume than the shy one.
Slayer Chick,
Yeah.
All right. Well, Beck, thank you again so much. And listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey today. And I am your host, Rachel Dalton. This has been Wine, Dine, and 69. And let's keep talking.